Hello, my name is Anna Severe, and I am going to be talking about physical environments, more specifically, how to form a physical environment that meets children's needs as a play therapist. All of the information I will be using has come from either The Guidance of Young Children, which is a textbook written by Marian Marion, specifically the fourth chapter in this book, or the 6 peer-reviewed articles I have found, or just notes I've taken in my childhood guidance class. Maybe it's from the observations I've done working with kids. Maybe it's just from my personal experience as a little girl who was in play therapy. But yeah, let's get started. It's going to be so fun. Okay, so supportive physical environments. A physical environment can set the tone for our interactions with children. As play therapists, our playrooms are the heart and soul of play therapy. So, this being said, how does one set up a therapeutic environment that keeps the child's success and well being in mind? Well, I'm here to tell you. But before we go into the how, we must know the why. So, why is the therapy room so important? And in the article, What's in the Therapy Room by T. Sinclair, it's highlighted that the therapy room sets the tone of the session for the client and holds the responsibility of making an individual feel safe and secure, both emotionally safe and physically safe. And according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety and security is one of the basic needs a child must have before they are able to function optimally. So a child that feels safe and secure and in their environment is more likely to participate and engage in the therapy room. And as highlighted in Chapter 4 of Guidance of Young Children, there are a lot of benefits to a well-designed environment. These include lower levels of stress, fewer disciplinary problems. Children can become more independent, or their self-control improves. A child's efforts to meet higher order needs is supported, and decision-making skills improve as well. On the other end, there are downfalls to a poorly designed space, which can include behavior problems and higher levels of stress. So, for this presentation, I set up 4 different categories to discuss. So, the first one is options, the importance of having options in our playrooms, examples of different options, and calm down kits. The second is flexibility, the importance of flexibility in a play therapy room, the different needs that might need to be met as a play therapist, and maintaining the interest of kids. Third is decorations, so lighting, colors, fixtures, furniture, all of that kind of stuff. And then fourth is privacy. So, why privacy is necessary? What are the elements of privacy? And calming corners as a really good tool as well. Perfect. Okay, so the first one is options, providing multiple choices for kids in the playroom. And in the article, The Classroom as a Teaching Tool by Zlata Stankovic Ramirez and Catherine Dutton, it's highlighted that choices are perhaps one of the most important aspects of arranging rooms and providing materials. And I could not agree more. Choice gives kids autonomy and allows them to steer the session in whatever direction they choose. It allows them, so maybe they want to paint, maybe they want to read, maybe they want to write, maybe they want to play dress up. Whatever it is, it's what they're choosing and it's important to them, and it allows them to kind of have control over their session. And selecting what goes into a playroom should involve very careful attention, which can ensure that all the materials used in the playroom encourage all different types of play. And this idea is supported by Sandra Doctoroff, who wrote the article Adapting Physical Environments to Meet the Needs of All Young Children for Play. And offering a variety of materials gives the child autonomy over what they do, and it allows them to choose what is best for them at that time. Also stated by Zlata Stankovic Ramirez and Catherine Dunn. As play therapists, we also encounter various ages and developmental levels, which only further highlights the importance of having different activities and toys for the kids to choose from. We need materials that are suitable for all different types of developmental groups, from maybe a 4-year-old to an 8-year-old. Maybe you have a child that has a visual impairment, maybe you have one that has a motor impairment. All of these different needs must be taken into account, as it is our job as play therapists to adapt to each and every need of our clients. So here are some great options for your playroom. Of course, these are not the only things you can include. There are so many more. These are just kind of like the basics that I wanted to include. So they're split up into 3 categories. The first one being creative expression, so how a child can express themselves. So this may look like paint or art supplies. I know as a little girl when I did play therapy, that was my favorite. I always made a beeline for the art section and I always made pink paint. That was like the first thing I did, but that was my favorite. Another option could be coloring books with markers or crayons or colored pencils. Play-Doh is a really great way for them to sculpt. You could include musical toys, maybe some little drums, maracas, a little keyboard, anything like that. Sand is also a great way. It's also very soothing and a great sensory tool. I really like kinetic sand just because it's a bit cleaner. Craft supplies is also great. Maybe having paper or glue, glitter glue, little stickers, just things like that for them to use. Dress up clothes as well, which can also go in the pretend or real life category that I included in the creative expression category because it can be a way they express themselves. Puppets as well. Maybe they have an experience that they want to play out through puppets. Go ahead, we have the option for that. The second category is aggressive release toys. So these are toys that are, as stated, more aggressive or maybe more serious in nature. These toys should not be hyper realistic. It should be known that they are toys, from the material to the color. So some examples could be rubber knives, guns, again, material, plastic, colorful, should not be hyper realistic. Handcuffs, maybe you include a scary looking doll. Reasonably scary, of course, you don't want to freak them out. Foam swords are another great one, or aggressive figurines such as soldiers or sharks or snakes or dinosaurs. Any of these that can help confront those deeper or scarier feelings. The last category is pretend or real life. So baby dolls are a really great one. Having clothes for them, having bedding, bottles so that the kids can feed them or dress them or anything like that. The kitchen setup is also a great one for kids to practice using kitchen things. Maybe they want to make some soup or something. Having play money and dollar bills or coins so they can act that out. Phones and electronics, especially now that they're becoming so much more popular. Having a medical kit is a great way for real life or pretend play. Having books or toy cars or animal and people figurines is also another great way. All right, calm down, kids. This is like my favorite topic. As a little girl, my play therapist had me create a calm down kit, and it was one of my favorite things. And as play therapists now, we can have our clients create one. We can have one in our office at all times for each client to play with. Kind of just depends. You can do both, you can do neither. I know I'll probably do both depending on the kid, just because I think it was such a great tool. But basically, these are kits that you can either buy pre-made or you can make them yourself, however you so choose. But it's exactly what it says. It is a kit that can calm children down in those very high stress situations. So things in the kit can vary, of course, by the picture. There's very different things in each of them, but maybe there's a small stuffed animal or a stress ball or a little snack or maybe some crayons or books. Just anything that can take the child's mind off of the big scary thing in their head and just get them to physically focus on what's in front of them. One of my favorites was this bottle that's in this picture right here. I had one, it had water, purple food coloring, sparkles, and sequins in it. And when you would shake it, all the glitter and the sequins would go everywhere. And that was what really helped me as a little girl to take my mind off of what was going on in my head and focus it on something physical, as you can kind of watch the glitter and the sequins sink back down. So that is just one really cool tip that helped me immensely and is just a really great thing to have on hand. Even now, as a 19-year-old, I have my own version of Calm Down Kit. It's very versatile and universal. It's really great. Okay, so number two, flexibility. Flexibility is so important, especially because play therapists see so many different types of kids. And in Sandra Doctoroff's article, she states that in many instances, environmental enrichment or modifications can result in changes in a child's behavior. So, whether that's a change for the better or for the worse, the environment can result in that. So, why do we need to be flexible as play therapists? Why does our environment need to be flexible or modifiable? Well, this is talked about in the article titled Pre K Teachers' Perspectives on Classroom Environments and Barriers to Optimal Learning Spaces, which is written by Zlata Stankovic Ramirez and Bridget Bitra. So, play therapists, as I've stated numerous times, are responsible for a lot of different ages and developmental levels, which means each kid is going to have a different need. And as play therapists, it's our job to meet that need and to form an environment that also helps to meet that need. Environments that allow for the continuous evaluation of the environment are very important to continue to meet the needs of each kid in that environment. So just making sure we can modify it however the kid needs is crucial to forming a safe space for them and just allowing for the session to run smoothly. So here I have in a couple of examples of different needs that might be met and how we as play therapists can modify the environment to meet those needs. Of course, as I talk about a child with generalized anxiety disorder and a child that has ADHD, these needs that are listed might not be specific for every child that has ADHD. It's specific to these children only. And as play therapists, we'll get to know our clients, we'll get to know them, we'll get to know what they need, and we'll be able to make the environment reflect that. I'm just using these two as a general example of how we can modify our environments. So, child number one has generalized anxiety disorder. This child might need a clutter-free environment, ensuring that there's a closed off space. Maybe having something that's so big or open is really overwhelming or scary. Having calming music going on in the background is really great to just calm the mind, or even having little aroma dispensers like lavender is a really great one, just a very calming scent. Offering sensory toys like stress balls or even weighted blankets are a really great way and great thing to have on hand to help with these stressful times, or the calm down kit. Don't forget the calm down kit. So, the second child has ADHD. This child might need a more open area. They need to be able to move more. They also might need designated spaces for each activity. So maybe this corner needs to be paint. Maybe this corner can be puzzles and books. Maybe this one could be the pretend play. Just having those designated spaces to keep their focus on one thing at a time. This child also will probably need a clutter-free environment just to minimize distractions. And lastly, fidgets are also a great thing for kids with ADHD or just really active kids, so that their active mind can manifest physically and they're able to focus better. Okay, so part of flexibility is maintaining interest, which is also highlighted by Sandra Doctoroff. Having a flexible environment can aid in maintaining the interest of children by allowing for the addition of new materials. Having an environment that can be added to or even taken away from is very important, as it can stimulate the creativity or enhance different kinds of play for the children. Of course, there are children that do not need change. They need predictability, they need consistency, and for these kids, that need must be taken into account. But for kids that don't need that as much, adding some things in here and there are a great way to maintain their interest, keep their intrigue, keep them going, keep them excited to come. But for those kids that they need everything to stay the same, that is a totally valid need that also must be listened to. Okay, so number 3, decorations. So lighting, furniture, decor, all of that fun stuff that goes into making an environment. So in the article, Space Planning of Kindergarten Classroom by Fitri Nadia Mode Shali, writes, several aspects identified need to be considered in planning spaces for children in kindergarten, including size and area, layout, equipment, furniture, facilities, color, and visual appearance of the space. I will be talking about 3 of these main decoration components, including furniture, lighting, and colors. So first is furniture. In Shawley's article, it is written that research on ergonomically designs prove that furniture makes the classroom and learning experience more comfortable and pleasurable. So a comfortable environment will reflect in the learning and the experience of said child. So different practical ways that as play therapists we can provide suitable and appropriate furniture could be making sure that the furniture is proportional to the child's height. This makes sure that the child can access what they need to be able or want to access. It also just makes the space feel more inviting, makes them feel like they belong here, that this is for them. Second, different options for seating. Maybe it's just a simple chair, a beanbag, a really big stuffed animal, a sofa. Having different options goes back to giving the child autonomy and allowing them to choose. It also helps them to feel more comfortable because that's what they chose and that's what they wanted. Third is storage. Having storage options is great. It keeps things organized, keeps things uncluttered, which can really be overstimulating for some kids. And also, again, offers choices. Maybe the kid wants to go over here into the toy box. Maybe they want to go over here to the bookshelf. Give some options, and it's also neat and tidy. Fourth, furniture should be movable. This goes back to the environment being flexible. So again, maybe you have a kid who needs a lot of room. You should be able to move the furniture out of the way to create that space. Maybe you have a child that needs a smaller space. You should be able to move the furniture to create that smaller space. Either way. Second is lighting. So in T. Sinclair's article, it is written, there's a study that was conducted involving 80 students who were interviewed by a counselor, and the findings were that dim lighting facilitated self-disclosure and increased communication. So dim lighting was found to be preferred over bright lighting. So this could look like softer yellow lights, maybe using some fairy lights, maybe different lamps around the room instead of one big overhead light, things like that, just to create that more cozy, warm feel. It was also found that natural or subdued light is preferred over artificial light. So if your office has a window, that is a great thing to utilize to let that natural light in. If you don't have a window in your office, that's okay. There are devices that also mimic natural light, such as artificial skylights, or maybe you use a light therapy lamp. Either way, lighting can play a big it's a big deal for environments. I know as a kid, the big white lights, they felt very clinical. They felt just very sterile and almost like intimidating. And so even now, I like having multiple little yellow lights around my room. It's just very calming. And so that also reflects in our environment as light therapists. And third is colors. Colors invoke a lot of emotions. I mean, when someone mentions the color blue, what's the first emotion is sadness, or yellow, joy, red is anger. So things like that. And in Shawley's article, research believed that children between ages 3 years old to 6 years old show a strong interest in color over form. So color for children is very important. So making sure that we choose colors that will benefit them and will make them feel calm is so crucial. It was found that bright or warm colors were shown to release tension or lessen anxiety, especially for those children 3 to 6 years old. So these could be colors like pink or orange or red or yellow, those, bright, warm colors. It's also shown that cooler colors such as blue or purple are associated with a more peaceful environment. So, one thing that I would say when coming at your environment and looking at like paints and stuff would be a very neutral wall color and then accenting the decorations and the furniture with color. That way it's not too overbearing, too overwhelming, but there's still color where there needs to be. And last but definitely not least is privacy. Privacy is so important for anyone, really. I mean, adults need privacy, teens need privacy, kids need privacy as well. Privacy is not a privilege, it is a need. And it was actually written in Children and Privacy, which is an article that was written by Cindy Weigel Gary, Christine Cook, and Mary Jane Brotherson. They all write that privacy can be either constrained or facilitated by features of the physical environment. The way we set up our office can make a child feel like they have privacy or make them feel exposed and make them feel unsafe to share or to present different information. And so it's important that we know how to build an environment that provides that feeling of safety. So, why is it important and necessary? Well, privacy gives children a sense of security and autonomy, and it could also look different for each child. A child might need less space and they can still feel private. A child might need more space and still feel private. Again, we will cater to a lot of different needs and we'll learn what each child needs and we'll be able to modify our environment to reflect that. But offering a private space sends a message to the child that their needs can be met and that their needs are important and that their needs will not just be shared. It also allows them to regulate their emotions alone while still in a safe and controlled space, which is also highlighted in the article Children and Privacy. Privacy also occurs in the form of confidentiality of information. You're not going around and telling this child's information to your spouse or to your friends. It is between you and the child and maybe their caretakers as well. And of course, a child might not know that you're gonna, if you do tell someone, they might not know, but it's not good. You are responsible for confidentiality and keeping that information private. When children know that when they're telling you something and it's private, they are more trusting. I mean, think if you have something that's really weighing on you and you want to tell your friend, but that friend is known for being a gossiper or is known for not being able to keep a secret, you're not going to tell them. You're not going to risk that. Children are smart. They know that too. And if they trust you and if they know that you'll keep their information private, they'll tell you stuff. They'll come to you. And a private space allows for children to explore themselves openly and without fear of judgment. One thing as a kid, when I was in play therapy, I was always scared for being judged for my experiences. And it really wasn't until a lot later on when I got a lot older that I realized safe spaces are meant to be judgment-free zones. Even when I was little, my play therapist, they did such a good job. They were not judging me. But as a little kid, it can be so scary. And so just making sure we create that environment that is private so that they can express themselves and feel free to do so is incredibly important. And of course, on the next slide, we'll talk about how to set up that environment. So these are different elements of setting up a private space. The first one is soundproofing. One way that you can soundproof is to use rugs. Especially if you have hardwood or tile, it can be a lot more echoey than a room with carpet. And so adding rugs, it lessens the echo, it just dampens the sound a bit, and so noise doesn't carry through as well. And white noise is also a really great thing to utilize. It doesn't have to be loud, but even just using white noise or other artificial sounds, maybe rain sounds, whatever it may be, as background noise also creates that barrier and that, you know, muffling of sound. And especially for younger kids, it can feel very safe. Another element is physical separation. So this could be making areas smaller. Maybe you move a bookshelf to create a little section, and that's where y'all talk if that feels safer. So sectioning off different parts of the room can be really big in playing a part in private spaces. Another element is calming corners. These are big, and I'll talk more about them on the next slide, but these are a really great thing to implement into playrooms. Lastly is curtains. Curtains also act as a physical barrier from the outside world. So if you have a window, having curtains that you can draw for the session is a great way to show the kid that they're safe in here, that no one else, this is their time and their private time only. You can also, if you don't have a window, you can put a curtain across your door. This also signifies like, hey, I'm blocking out the outside world. This is a safe place. This is a private space, away from everything else. You are safe here. That's another great way to utilize curtains. Okay, so calming corners. Calming corners are such an amazing tool, not only in play therapy, but also just like in a playroom. Maybe you have kids. Calming corner. It's great. It's great in any sort of environment where kids will be. But for a play therapist, it's a great thing to incorporate in a playroom because it helps with self regulation. It can also reduce feelings of unease or anxiety. Maybe a kid is just really overstimulated or dysregulated and they need some time to themselves. They can go to that calming corner. They can have that time for themselves. They can sit and be quiet and just kind of rest in that space. And a calming corner should be cozy. There should be pillows, there should be blankets or stuffed animals. It should be a safe place for a child to retreat to. And I didn't mention this on here. It should not be a place of punishment. It should not be this child did something bad. They're going to go and sit in the calming corner as a timeout. That is not what calming corners are used for, and they never should be used in that way. A calming corner is an option. The child chooses to go there, they are not forced to go there, and it is a safe place for a child to regulate their emotions and just sit and let themselves breathe. Lastly, calming corners are private. An adult should still be able to see into the calming corner just to check in on the kid, make sure they're safe. But the child still has that sense of privacy. And I put it on the previous slide, Here's some examples of private or calming corners that I really liked. I thought this one with the tent was very cute. Um, it's private, it's cozy, it's smaller, which is great, and the play therapist can still see in, but it's just very confined. This is also a great one in a great way. A great one that shows the use of like modifying your environment. It looks like these are maybe some bookshelves or containers or grates that were used and moved to create this environment. There's a beanbag, a little chair right here, and some activities for the kid to do while in that corner. So just some really great examples there as well. Okay, that's it on the calming corner. Congratulations! Now you know how to build a therapeutic environment that keeps the child's success and well being in mind. As a play therapist, their needs, their well being, their success is our priority. We need to make sure that their environment helps them. It isn't for us. I know even now, the idea of planning my playroom as a play therapist is so exciting. I love thinking about all the decorations I'm gonna use, all the little toys I'm gonna include, the fun lamps and stuff. It isn't for us. The environment is for them and it should reflect their needs. And as fun as it is to plan, we need to make sure to keep the children first and foremost. Here are all my references that I used throughout this presentation. And thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you now know some really great tips and tricks for setting up your environment as a play therapist. And I wish you luck on setting up your playroom.